Good morning, good evening, and afternoon, children. It is I, your friendly neighborhood rave, saying hello, how you doing? Today I want to do a deep dive into one of my favorite guitars, and quite possibly the most important guitar I've ever owned. I am, of course, talking about my very first guitar ever. This right here is the very first guitar I've ever owned in my life. Everything I've learned as a guitar player, I've learned because of her. So what I wanted to do is talk to you guys about how important this guitar has been and why it's been so important for me, and why I truly think entry-level beginner guitars are the most important pieces of gear on the market today. For obvious reasons, but one that I think people overlook. So for starters, let's go back to the before times. This is before the before time. The little rave watches a music video of Guns N' Roses, sees Slash in a top hat and goes, hey, you know what? That's cool. I'm gonna try that. That guy's high on heroin and he's killing it. How hard could it be? Little did he know, it's pretty damn hard, but that's for another story. Long story short, he convinced mom and dad to buy him a guitar, and they not only bought him a guitar, but they bought him a Squier starter pack. For those who are not aware, a Squier starter pack comes with the guitar, an amp, a strap, some picks, a book that I might have around somewhere, and a tuner. All the essentials you need wrapped into one package. I was set. I wish I remembered the day we bought this guitar a little better, because I only remember after, and I'll get to that, but because I only remember getting this box into my room, unpacking everything, taking everything out, laying the guitar right here, and the little Squier practice amp right there, and just looking at it. I can't explain to you why I knew, but I just knew, just from looking at the grill of that amp, that I was about to jump into a vortex that was never gonna spit me out. I remember like looking at that grill for what felt like minutes. Probably was only a couple of seconds, but I was just looking at that amp, going like, tell me your secrets. At which point I realized the only way I'd get those secrets is to actually interact with the amp through the guitar. So then my attention went on the guitar. Prior to this moment, my only experience with the guitar was with a classical acoustic guitar that my dad had around. It was dirty, and I remember I tried picking it up, and I tried to play Smelly Cat on it. For some reason, I figured I could just pick this up and play Smelly Cat, like that would work. So there I was at the edge of my bed with my dad's classical guitar, and I'm going like, okay, let's do this. I don't even know what I was doing with my left hand, but I was just trying. After a couple of minutes, I'm like, this isn't working. And I realized like, this really hurts my fingers, and I put it down. I think I was probably 10. Wouldn't touch it for another 3 years. Wouldn't touch a guitar, I should say, for another 3 years. So now I was ready. I had an electric. This one was properly set up. It had new strings. And off I went. I started working with the intro chord book, but it was just so boring. I hated it. So I immediately went downstairs and asked my mom to get me guitar lessons, to find me a teacher. And I don't know how we did it. We might have called Sam Ash, the same Sam Ash we bought the guitar from. And we might have asked them if they knew any guitar teachers. And they recommended me somebody. I took guitar lessons for a little bit, nothing long. But you gotta understand, while I was taking guitar lessons, in between those lessons, I was on the internet, man. And this is like internet before Instagram and what it is today. You really had to work to find what you wanted to find. Google's algorithm wasn't as refined, and YouTube wasn't anywhere near what it is today. So it took effort, is what I'm trying to say. It was still an invaluable resource to me. I went on ultimateguitar.com often. I learned a lot of tabs, and then I got to a point where I could play some of my favorite songs fairly well. And then I realized some of the tabs were incorrect. And so that would mean I would have to learn by ear. So I would take all my favorite songs and start learning them by ear. A lot of times, I'd learn to play them incorrectly, meaning I'd learn to play them not like they are played on the record exactly, or rather my 13-year-old, 14-year-old self's approximation of the guitar part. And in my failure to sound like my guitar heroes, I was, unbeknownst to me, developing my own playing style. This is actually freshman year of high school. So once sophomore year kicks in, I'm pretty good at it. And in my high school, they allowed the students in their sophomore year to decide what electives they wanted. Naturally, I was going to take music, but then I was looking at the electives list. It said guitar. Well, hell, this is a sign. Let's go to guitar class. I did pretty well in the guitar class. I took guitar class that year, and then guitar 2 following year. My senior year of high school, I was in the jazz band. I could make a whole other video about high school and music and how important that was to me, but that's for another video, I guess. Keep music in schools. Keep music in public schools. Love and support all teachers, period. Fast forward to junior year, people start noticing that I could play. People start going, hey, you want to join a band? Sure. Why the freak not? Before I know it, I'm in a band with my friends. We're playing the battle of bands in our schools. We're just jamming out, and it's the best. You're hanging out with your friends. You're playing songs you love. And in between, you just hang out. It's the coolest thing. it's still the coolest thing. Then it got to a point for me where I was like, you know what? I want to really try this. And I started writing really seriously. And I wrote some songs, a lot of songs, actually. The earliest song that I wrote, that you probably heard of, goes like this. That, of course, was the call out from my first album, and that was a song that was clearly not meant to be played on a guitar like this. And although I didn't record it on this guitar, I definitely wrote it on this guitar. And the other sort of seminal song for me that I was able to write, the song that convinced me that, hey, maybe I am a decent songwriter, was When You Might Know. Yes, children, if only you knew, written on this one. Virtually every song on that first album written on this guitar. So all that, which I just mentioned to you right now, from getting the guitar, to wanting to learn how to play, to studying on my own, to playing in bands with friends in school, to playing in bands in real life, to writing songs for real, it all started on this guitar. There were a lot of times, especially in high school, where I was looking for the next guitar. I remember I was looking at Gibsons, I was looking at PRS guitars, I was looking at Ibanez's, I was looking at everything because I was trying to push myself. I didn't play a lot of sports as a kid, but the guitar was my sport, and I'll tell you how. I always pushed myself to play better and faster. So I was very much into metal, very much into shred, and I was like, let's get better, let's get faster, let's do more and get more. And there was a time where I felt like this guitar was holding me back. I remember trying to play Black Star by Yngwie Malmsteen on this guitar all the way up here, and it feeling cramped. But now if I play it on this guitar, not that bad. Granted, it's not the ideal guitar for that kind of playing, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Was it holding me back? Yeah, in some aspects. It's not exactly a performance guitar, much like this beast, which is made for shredding. Hint, hint, we'll get to that one later. This guitar is meant to be like an all-around, all-encompassing guitar. And that's exactly what it was. It could handle a little bit of everything, but it wasn't great at anything. But that's the most important thing about guitars when you're starting out. You don't need a great guitar. You just need a guitar that you can grow into, or rather a guitar that you can grow with. When you're playing a Les Paul, or an American Strat, or a PRS, mentally, there's kind of this thing I feel. And please, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But I feel that when it comes to high-end guitars, the guitar player must sort of ascend, or rather meet the task of playing that level of guitar. You almost have to be worthy of that guitar. And in the back of your mind, there would be this thing of, have I risen to the challenge? Am I ready yet, sensei? That is, again, in my opinion, the last thing that should be on any guitar player's mind when they are just learning. Quality instruments are for musicians that are looking for that particular instrument. If you're just learning, you have no business buying any of that. You don't know what you like or what you don't like. Much like how guitar manufacturing evolved based on what Leo Fender made with the Tele and the Strat, I evolved as a player because I started off on a Strat. And that's actually a pretty good analogy when I think about it. Again, in a previous video, we mentioned single coil pickups, very noisy. The answer to that was created by Gibson when they made humbuckers that essentially buck the hum or cancel the hum. So every problem from a manufacturing perspective that came with the Strat has been solved. And for me, as a player, starting out on a Squier Strat, everything I didn't like about this guitar, I knew. Everything I loved about this guitar, I didn't know until years later. But I was, for some reason, so focused on why I thought it sucked that I never realized how incredible it was Now, I could sit here and tell you everything that's wrong with it right now, even. Action can always be adjusted more or less, but I mean, it's actually got a really high gloss neck. I was gonna say it has like a feel of an old Squier, and Squier guitars kind of feel like import guitars, but I gotta say, like, this one has like a, I mean, it's not a lacquered neck, but it's a high quality neck. I mean, I gotta say, you guys know I like big necks for my big hands. I didn't realize how perfect this neck was for my hand until I tried out a lot of other guitars and realized I hated those guitars. I didn't realize how much I loved this neck carve and how it fits perfectly with my hand until I tried other guitars, looking for the guitar to replace this. And there were guitars that replaced this. You remember that Strat that we did a video on? That was for a long time my main Strat. I retired this guitar. There's a couple of seconds where I kept this guitar in open G tuning and I played it for slide stuff. But ultimately I retired the guitar. And that was around the Swadad tour. It wasn't until a few years later that I decided to unretire the guitar because at the time I was looking to build Stella and I thought, well, maybe instead of having to buy the body, maybe having to buy a neck, I could just upgrade my very first guitar. And I remember holding it in my hand and going, huh, this neck, because at the time I was comparing guitar necks, because that was a big thing for me. I was looking for the right neck for Stella. And I just remember kind of like noodling with the guitar and I just went, oh, wow, okay. Oh, okay. I just remember the first thing that struck me was how much more comfortable it felt in my hands than that new Squier that I replaced this with. Sorry, I meant Fender Strat, not Squier. I was blown away with how wide the neck was. I was also surprised about how decent the pickups themselves sounded. Now, certain things about the Strat design still bother me to this day. For example, I hate the fact that there's a volume knob right where I put my hand when I play. I took the volume cap off, so there's less surface area hitting up against my finger when I play. So now it's just this little pot that I turn if I want volume. But here's the thing about the guitar. It's very scratchy. Scratchiness, no bueno. Here's the real kicker. Ever since I had this guitar, if I put it up to 10, if I put the volume all the way up to 10, this is what happens. It usually just dies out, but as you can hear, it's like coming in and out. It usually just dies. Not dying now. It wants to show you its real good side. Another thing that was an issue with this guitar, lately more so, since I unretired it, is the 5-way pickup selector would kind of crap out on me a lot. Look. Dead. I always have to have the guitar at 9, so I'm going to do that right now, and that way I know at least if there's an issue, it's the pickup selector and not the volume. So you can hear it a little bit, but like, just kind of have to like nudge it. There we go. Now I got the neck and middle pickup. Now if we go to the middle pickup, it's dead, so I kind of have to give it some love. Is that it? I guess. There. That's it. When you get that low end come in through the sound, that's when I know, okay, that's what it's supposed to sound like. And if we, again, if we go to this position right here, dead. Oh, there it is. I'm not doing that bad right now, I must say. Usually it takes me a while to recover the sound. And the bridge. So as you can see, it's pretty temperamental. And I used to have a lot of stickers on this guitar too. I had an Apple sticker that I got with an iPod that I bought. I had a Spider-Man sticker here too. At one point, you see this little... This is probably one of the coolest things about this guitar. I had a Atari, the gaming company, sticker right over there. And you could see where the sticker was because I have this rectangular tan line, which you could see is where the sticker was. I guess pick-arts could get tans, who knew? But ultimately, I thought, you know what? These corporations ain't paying me to advertise their shit. So I ripped off Apple, I ripped off Spider-Man, and I ripped off the Atari sticker. There's also these stickers right here, which I love. I remember one night just being really bored. I did all my homework, and I just couldn't go to sleep. So what I did was I remember I turned on Jay Leno, because that's who was on at the time. It was late at night, and then I just remember I had paper reinforcers. And I thought, this would kind of make my guitar look cool, like Randy Rhoads' Polka Dot V. So I went to town. I made little hearts out of the paper reinforcers. Now they're not hearts anymore because the back of the guitar has rubbed off on me quite a bit. I will also say that this bridge right here on this Squier is much more comfortable to play with than the one that was on my American Strat. Because my American Strat had the vintage style curved saddles on the bridge, and those would always like slice into my hand. It would hurt to play. Whereas this, smooth blocks, no issues, no cuts. And I gotta say, even the trem arm on this one is longer and meatier. It feels more substantial than the one that I had on the Fender Strat from America. And I'm not gonna lie, I've been thinking about maybe taking it to my guitar tech so that he could fix the wiring so that this isn't an issue anymore, so that the volume pots are smooth, so that maybe it'll sound better. There's a part of me that is very hesitant to do that because I haven't touched anything about this guitar. It is stock. It's got all its original parts. And as I'm sure you guys remember when I was talking about the Fender Strat, I could have modified the Strat, that's what it's for, but I opted not to because I didn't want to mess with its mojo, because I do think guitars have their own mojo. Hence why I built a guitar with its own mojo. But I digress. I kind of feel like if I were to fix up this guitar, give it new pots, a better 5-way selector, maybe something about it would change. I don't know. Actually, you could help me out with this. Let me know down in the comments below. Do you think if I were to upgrade or maybe even clean out some of the electronics that are dead in this guitar, that it would change its vibe, that it would change its energy, its feng shui, if you will? Should I change it or should I just leave it as it is? Keep it as wabi-sabi as it is. Look it up. I think it could use a cleanup for sure. I mean, it's kind of filthy. But again, let me know in the comments what you think I should do. You know, I realized I don't have a name for this guitar. And honestly, I didn't start naming my guitars until Stella. So this one has no name. It's just known as my guitar. Oh, that's kind of sweet, right? It's my guitar. Mwah. I'm fairly confident when I tell you that if I started playing guitar with any other guitar in the world, I wouldn't be the guitar player I am today. My sensibilities, my playing style, it wouldn't be what it is if not for this guitar. I say that even more so because I really kind of think I lucked out. I remember some of my friends who are also guitar players, they tried out this guitar and they were like, wow, this is a really good guitar. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I've even gone as far as comparing it and testing it to other high-end guitars, other high-end Strat style guitars, even controversial Strat style guitars. I think you know which ones I'm talking about. And I gotta say, the feeling is not too dissimilar. Granted, those sound a lot better because they have high-end electronics, but the feel, I gotta say, was there. So again, I really feel like I got a high-end, high-quality instrument just by the luck of the draw. And when it was put into that box with that amp, strap, book, tuner, etc., for whatever reason, through some cosmic twist of fate, it made its way into that Sam Ash that me and my dad went to. I think my mom might have been there too. And it came home with us. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means it was always destined to be mine, but I am so freaking grateful that it is. Anyway, let's hear this guitar in action. Well, there you have it. That is my first guitar and probably the most important guitar I own. Let me know down below in the comments if you think I should give it a little spruce up, clean it out, fix it up, or if I should leave its mojo intact. And please, please, please don't be afraid to give this video a thumbs up. Remember to take care of yourselves and each other.